It starts with a word, a simple, everyday word like colander or thermostat. It's right there, on the tip of your tongue, dancing just out of reach. You laugh it off. Senior moment, you say to your friends. They laugh back because they're scared of the same thing. But when you're alone in the kitchen, or sitting in your home office 5 miles from the nearest neighbor, the laughter stops. You're a person who built a life. You managed teams. You raised children. You navigated 40 years of careers and mortgages. Your mind was your greatest asset. It was a steel trap. But lately, it feels more like a sieve. In behavioral psychology, we call this the mask of competence. You've become an expert at faking it. You nod during conversations when you've lost the thread. You use GPS to drive to the grocery store you've visited for 20 years. You check the stove 3 times before bed because you can't trust your own memory of turning it off 5 minutes ago. This isn't about getting old. It's about the slow, agonizing theft of your identity. In the US, we value one thing above all else: independence. The moment you can't remember if you took your heart medication or if you paid the electric bill, that independence is on the auction block. You aren't afraid of dying. You're afraid of being managed. You're afraid of the day your daughter looks at you not with pride, but with that devastating mix of pity and exhaustion. You're afraid of the facility, the one with the beige walls and the smell of industrial bleach, where people go when their stories have finally run out. Let's talk about the shadow that no one wants to mention at the Thanksgiving table. The cost of the fog. If you're the daughter or son watching this happen to a parent, you're living in the sandwich generation. You're squeezed between your own kids' college tuition and the looming reality of professional memory care. In many parts of the US, a decent memory care unit starts at $5,000 a month. In cities like New York or San Francisco, you're looking at $8,000 to $10,000. That's not just money. That's the nest egg. That's the inheritance. That's the 40 years of 60-hour work weeks being burned away to pay for someone to make sure Dad doesn't wander out into the street in 30 degrees Fahrenheit weather without a coat. But the financial cost is nothing compared to the emotional bankruptcy. We call it the living funeral. It's the process of grieving someone who is still sitting right in front of you. You ask them a question about your childhood, and for a split second, their eyes go blank. The person who taught you how to throw a baseball or drive a car is being erased page by page from the inside out. For the person experiencing it, the pain is even deeper. It's the pity look. You see it in your spouse's eyes when you ask the same question for the 3rd time in an hour. You see it in your colleague's eyes when you stumble over a presentation. You start withdrawing. You stop going to the club. You stop hosting Sunday dinner. You shrink your world to the size of your living room because out there is too complicated. Out there requires a sharp mind, and yours feels like it's being wrapped in wet wool. This is the shadow pain. It's not about forgetting where you put your glasses. It's about the terrifying realization that you are losing your seat at the table of your own life. There is always a moment when the mask of competence shatters. Maybe it's the day you're driving home from the pharmacy, a route you've taken 1,000 times, and suddenly, the intersection looks foreign. The signs don't make sense. You're only 2 miles from your front door, but you feel like you're in a different state. Your heart hammers against your ribs. You pull over, hands shaking on the steering wheel, praying no one sees you. Or maybe it's the day your grandson runs up to you, 50 pounds of pure energy, shouting, "Grandpa!" And for 3 seconds, you can't remember his name. Those 3 seconds feel like an eternity. The silence is deafening. This is the crossroads. Most people choose the wait-and-see approach. They think, Maybe I'm just tired. Maybe I need more coffee. But as a behavioral specialist, I can tell you, hope is not a strategy. The fog doesn't just lift on its own. Every day you wait is another day of neural pathways withering. Every day you wait is another piece of your legacy being deleted. The U.S. healthcare system isn't designed to save your memories. It's designed to manage your decline. They want to wait until the problem is clinical so they can bill the insurance for the $8,000 a month room. But what if you didn't have to wait? What if the goal wasn't just not forgetting, but staying sharp? What if the goal was keeping your car keys, your house, and your dignity for another 10, 15, or 20 years? We aren't talking about a miracle. We're talking about neuropreservation. The brain is an organ, but it's also the vessel of your soul. To protect it, you don't need game-changing fluff. You need a targeted strike against the 3 pillars of cognitive decline: inflammation, oxidative stress, and the buildup of neural trash that blocks your synapses. Imagine waking up and feeling crisp. Imagine walking into a room and remembering exactly why you went there. Imagine sitting down with your financial advisor and following every detail of the portfolio without having to ask them to repeat themselves. For the sandwich generation daughter, imagine the relief of a phone call where your mother tells you a story you haven't heard before. Imagine the weight lifting off your shoulders, knowing that the living funeral has been postponed indefinitely. This is about stealing time back from the fog. It's about being able to drive those 10 miles to your granddaughter's graduation and knowing exactly how to get home. It's about staying sir or ma'am, not the patient in room 402. You've spent your whole life building your reputation, your family, and your wealth. Don't let a quiet theft take it all away. The science of the human mind has advanced. We now know that the brain is plastic. It can be supported. It can be fortified. You can keep your seat at the table. You can keep your stories. But you have to make a choice before the choice is made for you by a doctor or a panicked family member. Protect the mind that built your life, because once the light goes out, no amount of money can turn it back on. Stay sharp. Stay independent. Stay you.